Scammers, frauds, conmen. What sort of feelings do you get when I mention these types of people? Perhaps the mere mention of the word scammer just crawls under your skin, evokes this feeling of disgust, of anger, of frustration, or just plain annoyance. I know it does for me. But subhanAllah, when you look at Hollywood today, they always portray these con men and these scammers as people who are so cool, and then people look up to them like some kind of role models. But in real life, if you knew about these con artists, you want to stay far, far away from them. You want to avoid them like the plague. You want to avoid them like COVID-19. In fact, you want to protect yourself. You want to vaccinate yourself to protect yourself from the harms of this virus, this disease, this scum of society, right? Ugh. So that's what we're going to speak about in this rather unique episode of the Barakah Effect podcast. Now, I have to admit, personally, when Shahmi first proposed the subject to discuss in the podcast, I wasn't so interested. I was feeling like this was a subject, I mean, really? We have to speak about conman? I'm not so interested. And I thought like, okay, let's just be a good team member and play along. Maybe we can learn a thing or two, inshallah. And subhanallah, I was pleasantly surprised when we did the research for this. I learned so many new things. I purchased a book just to learn about the subject. I listened to different podcasts and YouTube channels just to upgrade my knowledge about this subject matter. And this subject, which I thought was a simple subject about lies and deception, it turned out to be this very deep, profound study on human psychology that covered topics such as trust, building relationships, our biases and perceptions towards other people and society, the importance of seeking knowledge, and the importance of ikhlas and getting your intentions right. And most importantly, how do we protect ourselves and our family members from being scammed? And if you have been victims of scams, what is the right attitude as Muslims to extract the right life lessons? And how do you prevent yourselves from falling into the trap of learning the wrong lessons altogether? Brothers and sisters, I really enjoyed this episode. I think of all the episodes of the Barakah Effect podcast so far, this is the one that I've learned the most new things, and we really hope that you can extract a lot of valuable lessons from them as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on the Barakah Effect podcast on our YouTube channel and the podcast platforms, the weekly podcast where we extract pearls, gems, and wisdoms from the Quran and Sunnah that we can take practical small steps to implement in our lives so that we can turn them into our unfair advantage to gain success here and the hereafter.
ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum.
Ahlan.
So alhamdulillah, the topic of our discussion today is of frauds, scams, and conmen. How do we handle the sea of lies, of deception and lies in society? So before we begin, I just want to share a story of something that happened in 1906 in Germany, in a town called Copernic. So what happened is, there's a group of soldiers led by this corporal. So while they were marching in town of Copernic, they were interrupted by a captain who identified himself as Captain Voigt. So he asked the corporal, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're marching to the barracks." And he says, "Oh, you now guys, all of you, follow me. We have a mission. I have instructions from the Kaiser." The Kaiser is, back then, before World War I, is known as the Emperor of Germany. So it was the leader of the country at the time. So they said, we have to investigate the mayor because he is accused of embezzling the funds of the town. So they all went, and on the way they saw another unit of soldiers. They said, "You, what are you doing?" So they said, "Okay, go follow me. We're going to investigate the mayor." So they all raided the mayor's house, and they ransacked his place. And it says, "Okay, you, who are you?" "Oh, I'm the mayor." "What's your task here?" "I'm here to take care of the town funds." "Okay, you've been accused of stealing money. Open up the safe, count every cent that's in the safe." So they opened up, they counted how much money is inside. Now you can see what's coming. So it's about 3,600 marks, which is about 4,000 marks. It's roughly around a $250,000 USD. So it's about 1 million ringgit.
Wow, mashallah.
So the captain was very strict, but Captain Voigt said, count every cent. I want to make sure everything is accounted for. Ransack the whole house, look for evidence. So they ransacked the whole house, interrogated everyone, including the wife of the mayor. Interrogated everyone. And then he says, this investigation is conclusive. Everyone go to the Berlin police station. Anyone knows what happened next?
I'll take the money and pass it to the police to bring it as evidence.
No,
okay.
not quite.
He stayed behind.
Right. So everyone went to the police station except Captain Voigt. Captain Voigt went to the train station.
Ajib.
He changed into civilian clothing, and with a bag of money of 4,000 marks in his hand, he boarded the train and left. This guy fooled the German army using a uniform, a captain uniform, and a ton of confidence. This is a real story. Huh? Exactly. This is a real story. 1906 Germany, 100 years ago. Subhanallah. So this story basically segues into the discussion that we're going to talk about, which is about frauds and conmen. So, Brother Shahmi, I believe you chose the topic of our discussion today. Maybe you want to share with us why you chose this topic. Why is it important to you?
Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Salatu Wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Amma ba'd. So, I chose the topic mainly because nowadays, conmen or con artists, if you prefer that, take the form of just about anyone. From people who claim to collect all coins. You get this in Instagram, all the time. To religious figures who lie in the name of Islam. These people, especially the later one, they have the audacity to innovate things, that are baseless in Islam. So I find this really, bothering and worrying. So, but I am especially intrigued to find out why conmen attract so many people into believing their lies. You could say that they are the epitome of soothsayers. And here in Malaysia,
soothsayers, huh? Okay.
What I mean by soothsayers is that they use words to attract people, right? Like they use words, and they are good with words, and they can manipulate the environment with their words into making you to say yes to whatever they are suggesting, or not only conmen, but salesmen do this as well. So so this is one of them. And so here in Malaysia, we have our fair share of scam-related incidents. One of such took place in one of the states. Recently, it's quite a big deal in Malaysia, I think, where they held a quote unquote prophetic artifacts exhibition. Prophetic artifacts. They bring in, for instance, like the hair of the Prophet ﷺ, as they claim it to be. But some people raise the question with regards to its authenticity, while others believe with all their hearts, wow, what they saw that's the real deal, man. I saw the Prophet ﷺ's strand of hair. So there are two conflicting groups. And also another example is the Makkah scam incident. Is it called Makkah scam incident? It's also quite recent. Where
it came in the news, right?
Yeah, it came in the news, and one of the ways they conduct the scam is by acting as the authority, scaring people into believing that they did something wrong, right? Yeah, so that they owe the authority, for instance, unpaid tax or whatever, what have you. And of course, these conmen, they do what they do for the sake of maintaining their, lavish lifestyle. This especially is true for the Macau scam incident, where, they actually post their luxurious lifestyle on Instagram without, where everyone can follow you, everyone can follow him, or him and his wife. So everyone can see what they bought with the money that they have, But that's really, I don't know, that's really something strange, something amazing. And also, But last but not least, I'd like to say that this is a topic that is relevant for a lot of people, especially now in Malaysia, specifically. So this begs the question: how can we recognize conmen? Number one, and more importantly, how do we avoid getting scammed? So these are the two main questions that I would like for us to discuss and to come up with a practical solution, if we can, so that it can benefit us and our viewers, inshallah ta'ala.
MashaAllah, very good, very good. Barakallah fikum. So before we get into discussion, MashaAllah, let's put some definitions into place now. What do we mean by frauds, con? What do these words actually mean? Scams?
So if I may, I'm just going to quote from a Merriam-Webster dictionary. Yeah.
Sure.
So what they say, conman is a person who tricks other people in order to get their money. Yeah.
Tricks,
So,
okay.
Yep. So they use and Frank Abagnale, the famous conman, who the movie was done after him. Catch Me
If You Can.
So he actually eventually became a FBI agent to counter scammers. So he said, conman is actually people who uses confidence to manipulate themselves into gaining benefit, whether it's money, reputation, whatever. So hence, the name conman is derived from confidence.
Right. So you know the example that I gave just now, Captain Voigt, that's how he swindled the money. He used the confidence of the demeanor of a captain with his actions. That's how they believed that he was a captain. So he gave him money.
And one thing interesting about conman stories, yeah, if you hindsight, if you read it right now, it's funny because you find like a famous conman like Natwar Lal, the famous Indian conman who sold off Taj Mahal. We have Victor Lustig, the famous Austrian-Hungary conman who sold off Eiffel Tower. And we have Bernie Madoff, the recent one.
Bernie Madoff, yeah.
I mean, right now, if you read it, it's fun. You say, oh, mashallah, how did this guy come up with all these ingenious plans? And it's an interesting read, but I'm sure it's not that interesting and probably hurtful for the guys who actually involved and lost a lot of things during that scam. Yeah, but the title that the kind of scam that they come up with, it's entertaining in a sense. Like someone who tries to sell off Eiffel Tower, Taj Mahal.
Right.
Funny.
That's a very good point. Like when we look back, it sounds like ridiculous. It looks like, it's obvious. But in hindsight, it's easier to say those things. When you're in the thick and thin of things, they have a plot, they have the props. And, if you think about how Hollywood can manipulate people into feeling certain things that don't exist. Yeah. If you can do that with props and cameras and cinematography and sound effects, you can do that in real life. If you have the wrong intent to do it, right? SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good point that Amir highlighted. It's easy to say in hindsight, but when you are in the middle of it, it's very hurtful. And a lot of people can get victims to this, even very intelligent and smart people as well. SubhanAllah.
I also heard in one of the videos I heard recently. I looked at recently. So actually, the term conman came in the late or in the middle of the 19th century, in the US, in the US. So there was this man. He's a scammer. He's a liar, but he dressed up as a gentleman. So what he did, he went to other gentlemen, such as him, that looked like him. And when they talk and they gain the gentleman's confidence, he will ask something like, "Would you lend me your watch just for one day? Tomorrow I'll give it back to you." So when you gain his when trust is gained, so khalas, I'll lend the watch for you just for one day. So he got the watch, and he actually never gave it back to the person. And at last he was caught by the authority, and he saw and then it was discovered that there were lots of watches and and coins and whatnot that he kept in his house. And so the news came, and it was said a confident it was printed on the newspaper, confident artist or something, confident man. So in short, con man.
Confidence man.
Confidence man. So he's really confident in what he did. Yeah. So I think the key word here is to be confident, even though it's a lie. So you tell the lie with confidence, and eventually people will believe you.
Yeah, and I guess for some of these conmen, it's not that they are oblivious to what they're doing. It's something that they are aware of, and they take advantage of the flaws of human nature, what we have in us, our weak spots, and basically use it against us. So, like when we look at things, when you see a scam, for example, like you think to yourself, like, how can people fall for these type of scams? When it looks so ridiculous, But actually, when like the brothers said before, during the midst of it, it's almost like sometimes difficult to tell the difference whether it's a scam or not, because they are using basically your emotions or your weak spots against you, and you are basically blinded by what they're trying to present to you. So that's one thing that it's I think that what they use as a tool to carry out their scams and cons and whatnot.
Yeah, subhanAllah, that's a very brilliant point actually. So that brings us to the next part of the discussion now. So as Brother Reza has mentioned, so they actually manipulate your biases, your beliefs, your perception, the context that you're in, your emotion, the current state of emotions. They also have a way of identifying that, and they can use that to gain something that they want from it. But let's speak a bit about their side of things. So what are some characteristics of these so-called confidence artists, and what's in it for them? Why do they do what they do? And what are the common methods that we see people getting scammed these days?
For one, from the title, obviously it's confidence. They exude a certain sense of confidence, whether it be like a very loud, in a loud way or in a quiet way. But when people look at them, sometimes people are impressed by the way they look. And like, for example, what Brother Shami mentioned before, like the Macau scam or all these things, people flaunt their wealth. These scammers flaunt their wealth. So people have a perception or a visualization of themselves like, oh, this person has achieved so much by what they have presented on social media or whatnot. So it must be in a way that they must be doing something right. So I want to follow them, So that's already opening the door to that doubt or that way for them to manipulate you. So that's, I guess, one of the traits.
Yeah,
Another
it seems like that they know how to get noticed, right? Yeah, they know how to get your attention. And one thing about con artists that I think that every of them have, that they know how to build that trust before they get into you. They will do it maybe 1 or 2 years or months. They are quite patient for that.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, mashallah.
Yeah, that's true. I heard there's this the author of the book The Confidence Game, Maria Konikova. She said that one of the characteristics of a con artist is that they would try to get close to you. In light of what Brother Aziz said, yeah, they will try to show that they will try to tackle you by talking about the things that you and him or her they have some similarities.
What do you have in common?
Yeah,
what
they're
you have
trying
in
to
common,
get connected, right?
Yeah, of
Right.
course they would do that first. For example, maybe you guys love football, so you talk about the EPL, the matches that happen, yesterday, hey, what happened. So this is a bonding, and then
Yeah, that's how we make friends in school, if you think about it, right?
Of course. Of course. So once we
Social
say,
acceptance.
yeah, of course, yeah. Once
Social
we
acceptance, yeah.
once we identify this scammer as a buddy or a friend, everything else is history. It's like whatever he's gonna tell you, you're gonna think twice, or maybe I'm doing this for our friendship.
You let your
Yeah.
guard down after that, yeah?
Yeah. So
Fire will just break out.
That's a good way to put it.
So he becomes a buddy, a friend, not a salesperson or a con artist. So if a friendship, another thing is, she said that if a friendship advances too quickly, super quickly, and then there might be requests, that might be a red flag. that might be a red flag. Yeah.
Okay.
So one of their one of their how do you say this, modus operandi is that she said something about the foot in the door technique. Have you heard of that foot in the door technique?
I heard.
Oh no, what's that? What's that?
Yeah,
So basically, she said the foot in the door technique is, this guy, i.e. the scammer, he would ask for something small, a small request for the first time. For instance, hey, bro, can you help me out? I know you're into tech and stuff, so I want to buy a new phone. Can you help me out? What do you think about your new phone? That such a small request. He or she is asking for your opinion. So and then I think phone A is better than phone B. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your help. Okay, falas. A few weeks later, he would come again and he'd say something like, "Hey, can you help me out for this volunteer work that I'm doing? Can you help me out? So repeat requests, as she said, repeat requests are hard to say no to.
Okay.
But you have to give yourself permission to say no, because from this it would branch out to be something far worse.
Right.
Sahih. And another way that she also said, which is totally the opposite of the first one, the foot in the door technique, is what she called as she named it. I don't know if she named it, but she said this technique is called the slam in the door technique. Slam
in the door.
Slam at your face or something like that.
Oh,
Slam your face in the door.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's totally different from the first one, in which she said you barely know someone, you barely know him, so and suddenly he just asks you to do something for you. So for instance, hey, bro, I know.
But this time it's big, right?
Yeah,
it's a big request, right?
It's a big request.
Yeah.
Sorry, brother. Yazid, yeah. So it's like, hey, brother, I know we just met yesterday, but I have a class, but I can't make it. Can you babysit my students at the zoo, for example, tomorrow? Because that's a big request. You need to take your time and your energy to actually focus on something that is all of a sudden is there in front of you for someone that you barely even know.
Yeah.
Right?
Could be the conman is testing how gullible you are. I mean,
I think this is the gist of it. This is the bottom.
That's why it's called slam on the door, right? You would slam on the door if someone would request something big like that.
Sorry, it's called door in the face.
Okay.
So
Door in the face. Door in the face. Okay.
Door in the face. So
but if you prove that shows your character, you're an easy target.
So, and then what happens? What happens is that, so you say no, right? Obviously, you'd say no, right? I can't do this, man. You're not even my friend. But the next time when he asks you again, because she said, trust me, that you'd say yes. You says, because our nature is to be a good person. So
we feel bad about what we've done.
We feel bad about what happened the last time. So these are some of the red flags that she said is very interesting and very important for us to note. Yeah. So there are, among other things, but I don't know what you guys think.
The second request would be something smaller than the one he requested before.
That was his end game, actually.
Yeah,
that was his end game.
That's true. That was his end game.
Amazing. So subhanAllah, when we talk about these things, a few ayat of the Quran come into mind. So one of them is when Allah describes the hypocrites in Surah Al-Munafiqun, the surah about the hypocrites. Allah describes them as saying, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُمْ. If you were to look at them, you will be impressed by their bodies, by the form, their appearances. So appearances can be in any way. So like Reza said, it can be in a way that suits the formal environment. But also, I've heard about some confidence scams. They will dress themselves in a way that looks like victims. So you will want to help them. So there was a very interesting story about a woman from Australia who her modus operandi is to always disguise with an alias as somebody who's a victim of sex crime. Now, you see, when you see a sex crime on television, your first instinct is like, oh, poor thing. You're not going to audit the story. That's not your first instinct, isn't it?
In fact, it's like taboo to edit to look into the story too much, because you accept the way
compassion kicks in the first place.
Compassion,
empathy goes. You're on the drive.
You won't go say,
No, she's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You won't
there you
question
go.
She's a
basically.
liar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the famous ones that we've seen even up to I don't know about today, but very recent times in Masjid al-Haram. So people will bring their children and their children will pretend as if they don't have hands, but what they're doing is they're
Wow.
folding their arms inside, just showing their elbows and
Yeah.
make it seem as if they don't have hands.
Yeah, subhanallah.
Now, that's also another form of tu'jibuka ajzamuhum. Like you will be amazed and you will be trapped by that. And you say, oh, what a poor thing. You know, this is a young
Quite.
child, doesn't have limbs. Sorry,
Yeah.
is it?
Sahih. No, it's quite literally the ayat of the Quran. Like
Yeah.
it's
Subhanallah.
literally their limbs and whatnot.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I first like learned of this ayat, I thought like you'd be amazed by how they look. So we tend to think about what do you mean by amazed? Maybe they look good, and yes, it's true. Maybe they look good. They have strong bodies and so on. That's one way of a confidence scam. That's one way you gain confidence. But there's so many different ways you can do it, and they know this. They can know how to pull at your emotions. Another one I bear in mind is an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا فِي قَلْبِهِ وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ. Among mankind are those who, what's the word for it? They will amaze you with their words of what happens in this life. So they have a way with words that will make you do something that you normally won't. And that's why in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, some words are like magic. So what does magic do? Magic puts a certain deception, puts a certain, as they say, smoke and mirrors. You see things a certain way, but in actual fact, it's something else. So it's sort of that's the core of the whole confidence game. It's a deception. You make you look in one direction. You think that you're making the right choice, but you are actually praying into the hands of what they want you to do. Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
I mean, when you say this, right, like I would like to relate like the early times of Islam, yeah, because all the biggest deviants, yeah, they operate in this model, mode, whereby they try to gain your confidence, and you'll be amazed by the way the eloquency, their confidence, and all things like this. So you can see like from Abdullah ibn Sabah, you can see from Jahan bin Safwan, you can see from Musailamah al-Kazzab, all these people, they feed on, for instance, Musailamah al-Kazzab, people's need for guidance after the death of Prophet Muhammad SAW. It's okay. I'll give you that guidance. Yeah. Jahan bin Safwan, they feed on people.
Just a bit of context. So Musailimah was a person who claimed to be a prophet after the death of the Prophet SAW, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And Jahan bin Safwan, he promotes like intellectual discourse. Like what he has is better because he bridged Islam and philosophy
and modern knowledge.
Modern knowledge. Yeah. So this is something, and the way even though he never studied Islam, but he had a passion about debate, and he debate with the Jewish people, the philosophers from Eastern region, and then he tries to merge their thinking to the Islam, and then they say, oh, this is intellectual discourse, and he managed to fraud a lot of people from there. Another one is Abdullah ibn Sabah, who claims who was, people say, the founder of Shia, who say that we are actually one who loves Ahlul Bayt, and plays victim that we are Ahlul Bayt is currently being harassed under oppression by the leaders.
Let's define that. So Ahlul Bayt meaning the family of the household of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, so that's what they do. They try to prey on people's love towards the household. And of course, as Muslims, we should love the household of the Prophet ﷺ. But they use the storyline of being victimized. That's their con artistry, isn't it?
So that's one of the strategy, right? They use this great storytelling to build trust. Right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that trend is the same. Until Mirza Ghulam, all the same strategy.
Basically, it's the same, huh?
And if we notice that actually these people, they are playing on the emotion. They're playing with the emotions of people at large. They're not so when people got scammed or got tricked into whatever have you, they would not use their intelligence. Instead, they will they will react based on their emotions. So sometimes you see CEOs, they got scammed, and then you would ask the question, how can a CEO, someone who is smart, they they are one of the victims of this scam, for example. So actually, during the scam, when it took place, it's actually his emotions that were speaking, not his intelligence. So the scammers, they are good at invoking emotions and
Because most
for
of our what I mean, how to say pilihan, our choice to buy or to get something is usually gets to the emotion, not the intelligence, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
mashallah, you're right.
Usually
You're
go
right.
shopping to
That is true.
Lazada or Shopee.
Yeah.
You would play with
You know,
your
when you say that,
emotion.
when you say
Advertising.
that, what comes to mind? Yeah, advertising, exactly. Like for example, when you walk to the when you
Yeah.
walk to the airport, right? Like you go past the duty free shop, so you see them selling these watches, right? And you see
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, George Clooney, David Beckham, mashallah, they're
Oh,
wearing the
Mashallah.
watch there, but
Look
that
at
watch
that.
has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And then you have this perfume, this guy with a six pack, mashallah. So
brand ambassadors, huh?
brand ambassadors. Exactly. But what's the emotion when you see that? Oh, that's cool, man. I gotta have what he's having.
That's right.
Subhanallah.
It's
Would
same
we
like
say that it's
the
con?
early scammers, yeah. Because if you take a step back, yeah, like for instance, Abdullah ibn Sabah, his message doesn't make sense. His message is telling like
Yeah.
Ali
If you
has
start,
certain.
that's true. When you start dissecting it
That's true.
rationally, you realize that
We always
wait a
find
minute.
faults, like really, really unlogical points. Yeah?
Yeah.
Whether it's saying another noble human being has attributes same like Allah, or saying that somebody that will be a prophet after the Prophet Muhammad SAW, things that make sense. Or
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't have any attributes, doesn't have any names. That doesn't make sense.
That contradicts like the first page of the Quran. I don't have to be a scholar. You know what I mean? But brothers, before we continue, I just want to remind us, when we talk about the examples of conmen, I try to remind myself, let's not take the wrong lessons when we discuss about the ways that they deceive people. So what I mean by wrong lessons is, number one, we realize that they're so intelligent, we start to feel so much paranoia. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we as if we think like, oh, these guys are the smartest people in the world. No, that's not necessarily true. There are many good people who are intelligent as well. So that's one wrong way of looking at it. So we become overly cautious, and then we end up not trusting people. And for example, we know for a fact, even until this day, there are, as Shami mentioned, there are people who use religion to manipulate you to get your money. But in fact, there are many religious people who are good and who deserve for you to spend for them to help them in their cause.
That's true.
So you don't want to get the wrong intentions, or because these people are scammers, forget about it. I'm not gonna fund another religious organization for the rest of my life. That's shaitan's trick playing on you.
Because scam like because we should see scam also from two angles, right? One is that affects your financial status, but there's also there's also a scam that affects your shubha, your gives doubt to you, gives shubhat to you. That is either equally or worse in terms of the danger that it comes with, yeah. Because when
what's an example of that? What's an example of they use your doubts or your shubhat against you?
So for example, that will be like Jahmiyah, as deviant sect in Islam. They implant false knowledge of the religion to you, and then you hold to it. You hold to that to that belief, yeah. Or like Mirza Qadiani, the sect who the scammer sect who have all its followers thinking that their leaders is the last prophet. So those sometimes doesn't involve any loss in financial your financial stuff, but
that's a good point.
It disturb you your iman, your faith.
Yeah, subhanallah.
So this is one of the examples of what Brother Ame mentioned is scamming people in the name of religion. So this is what. So yeah, right. The examples that you have.
Indeed, that's right.
Do you guys have a personal experience of being conned by anyone? Or
right.
I think
know this is embarrassing for people, but it's okay. Let's let's get it out of the closet right now. And actually, to be honest,
to be honest, I think because it sounds like when we talk about people who get conned, it sounds like they are not intelligent. But we want to make the audience feel that being scammed is not because of your low intelligence, right? It's because we may pass our judgment sometimes, misjudge people. So, Akif Faisal?
Yeah, actually, I really love your point on that. So one of the things that when we say that they are victims of scams, a lot of typical words and stereotypes come into mind normally when people think about this. People think about you being gullible, being naive, being easily trusting. And that's not fair. That's not fair for us to say that. These people are victims. When you are a victim of a sex crime, for example, you don't immediately judge them. If you're a victim of a theft, if somebody breaks into someone's house, you don't say that, oh, you have poor security, you're not intelligent, and you don't do that. So the same thing as scams as well. These guys are very elaborate. So that's actually a very good point that Aziz mentioned. So yeah, anyone have some stories on some personal first-hand experiences here?
I don't have first-hand experience, but the ones in the 1990s, in Malaysia, they have this movement that claim Mahdi is the last imam, and this is a common trick that affects the Muslim nation. Yeah, like someone said, okay, I'm the last Mahdi. Mahdi is the savior of imam that gonna appear end of time. So, and their followers, you see doctors, you see engineers, you see successful businessmen being part of that.
Yep.
So it really can hit anyone. Someone with the lowest education level to the highest education level, and people with different financial stature.
Right.
So what I can see here is that also they really double down on scarcity. For instance, get it while it's hot. A job offer might be it lasts only for 48 hours, and then khalas, you won't be seeing this job offer anymore any longer. So it's how
that's also emotion, actually, the emotion of urgency, the pressure. It's a fear.
And also, how does the Artifact Museum coincide with the month of the Maulid?
That's true.
There you go. Yeah, subhanallah.
So some people might disagree with us by saying that the artifacts are real. Those are the real deal, right? So we're not going to go into that discussion, but right. But I think there are similar exhibitions. If not, maybe something similar. For instance, like what happened in there are many exhibitions such as the one that happened in Malaysia happening around the world. Maybe in Turkey, for instance, and in the Central Asia parts of the world, you can see they claim that they are selling this. I don't know what's it called. It's like a supplement, but it's made from the Ark of Noah, the Ark of Nabi Noah.
Coca.
Okay. Is it Coca?
Right.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
Did they say Coca?
Yeah. I mean,
Subhanallah.
the wood they claim is the wood of coca.
Subhanallah. So this is a realistic mind when it thinks you wouldn't think that this is something true. This is something authentic, right? It's how can a person actually fall into this.
There's no way to substantiate that's from Noah, right? Anyone can say anything, right?
So, that literally, I'm speechless. I don't know how people can actually buy a bunch of these things, for their own.
It's interesting that you mentioned also taking from the point that Akif Faisal mentioned that once you are in that situation itself, it's hard for you to get out just because mentally you are basically trapped. And this is something that this psychologist by the name of Leon Festinger in 1957, he discovered. He developed this concept that is called cognitive dissonance. So basically, this is something in the sense that when you believe in something or you want to believe in something so much, you basically, when it's conflicting with the reality, it's so highly stressful for that person itself that they bend the reality to make it makes excuses or make it in line with the reality, So you can say in the sense that, for example,
to remove that dissonance, isn't it? That discomfort, right?
The discomfort, the discrepancy. Oh, it can't be that. So it has to be correct, like because they believe in it so much. And if you want to take that, put that in the perspective of the recent events of the fake certificates, people want to believe that it's artifacts from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much that whatever people come up with proper evidence, whether it's scientific or basically in
Pseudoscience.
that case, pseudoscience, or in that case, the director of the actual body of the certificate itself is directly saying that this is a fake certificate. And even if it's like just so clear, the evidence is so clear, people just want so much for it to be real that they just disregard all those things and basically, can't be. And it's a classic sense of how scammers work. So
that's true.
Also, maybe it's a good. So we tell the viewers, like for instance, like Al-Sunnah, everything that left by the Prophet, we love them. Yeah, we believe that's whatever he left, there's barakah to that. But it's his hair, it's sword, it's clothes. We believe there's barakah in that. But we also have high esteem for this religion, and we feel a deep sense of love to a point of jealousy if somebody lies upon the Prophet.
True.
We have that sort of feeling, like we have that feeling to our parents. Nobody's gonna lie on behalf of my mother. We have the same feeling. We have a higher feeling that to our Prophet.
Yeah. Actually, another important point is our religion has this thing called sanad, chain of narration. This is how you substantiate something is really from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, if somebody claims something is from that, they need to come up with a genuine chain. How was that substantiated to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Can you imagine after all these years, these artifacts were not known? By the way, if you go to Hajj, there's a museum on some of the oldest artifacts of what remains of the Islamic empires of the past, and you won't see these things. And suddenly, in the year 2020, somebody brings these artifacts from the lifetime of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You gotta use your mind a bit, and think about it, right? But you know what's so amazing about these guys? So they are the ones who falsified the document. So they knew that if I'm going to come up with if I'm going to fool a lot of people, I have to come up with the documentations to formalize that. And then when it was proven that that document was forged, as Reza mentioned, and then they are the ones who suddenly came up by saying, this is what happens when you treat religion by certificates. Wait a minute, you came up with that certificate, right?
That's nice.
Oh, that's so awesome. And then you look at the comment section, right? They are defending these guys. So, what are these guys? This religious department are so unprofessional. They will defend them. And so, subhanAllah, I want to quote something from this book, Confidence Game. It says that conmen will not steal your money, but they will make you feel as if you're a genuinely good human being by helping them. All right, there you go.
Game on.
SubhanAllah. And that's the thing, right? So a lot of people, again, I don't want to use the word fooled in a way that seems condescending to them, but they've been tricked by this. And as Reza mentioned, this is a cognitive, they don't want to believe that. They don't want to believe that what they've been investing in all this while has been a lie, because it by definition, it means that I've discredited myself. I've called myself maybe gullible or not intelligent. So that's actually not the right way to go. So that's one of the major lessons that I've learned. If you feel that you've been deceived, just take your lesson and move on. So if you find out that somebody who you've given your trust, it turns out that he's an imposter or he's a con man, and you don't have to be so emotional about it. That's life. You learn about it and then you move on. You tell people, you protect them from their lies, and then you move on. So I think that's a very important lesson for us.
Yeah, I think especially Muslims, we need to really hold on tight to the idea, or to the one of the principles of Islam, which is that Islam lives on because we have Isnad in our deen, right? Isnad meaning the chain of narrations, and actually people can actually authenticate and know that this is authentic by looking at those who carry those chains. This is the reason why one of the Salaf, or one of the righteous predecessors, by the name of Abdullah ibn Mubarak, he said, "Lawlal isnad laqala man sha'a ma sha'a." He said, it means if it's not for isnad, the chain of narrations, Muslims especially Muslims, they can say whatever they want to say, and then people will actually believe in what they're saying without actually having to look at its authenticity. So I think this is a very this is a principle that that is really important. But most people, I think most people, they still do not know the weight of this this principle.
How important it is, isn't it?
How important it is. So when these things happen, like the artifact exhibition, for instance, they just believe, because of their love for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They want to believe, and then they want, especially also they bring their families along with them, and of course the children, they don't really know about Isnad and whatnot, right? So they just want the children to see with their own two eyes something that they can experience with their they can see, they can maybe smell or hear. This is something true. This is something, this is not a lie. So what you see is what you get. So I think I think this is one of the most important principles in Islam that we need to preach others.
And also we understand, like, for instance, like the greatest heritage our beloved Prophet left for us is his sunnah. It's
Exactly,
not his,
brother, exactly,
It's not his material things. And the Prophet and the companions understood this to a point. They want to prevent people tabaruk against seeking barakah,
Seeking blessings.
Seeking blessings
from the physical heritage of Prophet Muhammad SAW, that they themselves, they put what I call it, wasiat in English, a will, saying that if I die, bury me with all this heritage of Prophet along with me. So to stop people making this material heritage into something else.
Subhanallah, yeah.
Blocking the paths.
Yeah, they block the path.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, you mentioned that. I recall an incident during the Caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab. So the tree, there was an incident of Hudaybiyah where they pledged with the Prophet ﷺ under a tree. So what Umar, when he was the Caliph, so he was the second Khalifa, he noticed that people were starting to do acts of worship under the tree. Now, it was not necessarily something that associated partners with Allah, but people were started to associate the blessings of the place. Now, Umar was one of those people who pledged with the Prophet ﷺ under that tree. And he instructed to chop off the tree. There's no nostalgia. Now, of all people, a companion of the Prophet ﷺ who was there at the time, he would probably want to have that kind of memory, nostalgia. But he said, no, I'm going to cut it off. Because the priority, like Amir said, it's not about the things. It's not about the objects. It's about the lessons from the Prophet ﷺ.
SubhanAllah. His biggest legacy is the Sunnah.
Exactly. MashaAllah. And also, I think a very important point that Shami highlighted. You see, these individuals who try to swindle people's money by claiming that those are indeed the artifacts of the Prophet ﷺ, they know that a lot of people don't study hadith. They know a lot of people don't know what on earth is Isnad, let alone study it. They don't even know what it is. So when you look at the comment section of these people who defended these imposters, it's clear that they say they don't have an understanding to it. They say that, why are you reducing this religion to proofs and sanad? So what if you're doing this? I also can. Like, wait a minute, like they're completely diverting the point. And so that's the thing. When you don't have the right knowledge, and this is not just about religion, this is about anything. Protecting yourself from all these con strategies. If you don't know them, it's really difficult to see. And once, as Reza mentioned, this cognitive bias, I also learned a new term. It's called planned continuation bias.
Wow.
How's that? Pilots, they call it get-there-itis. So
get-there-itis.
So the idea is like this: when you plan to get somewhere, so we got to get there. So even if you see that your flight path clearly has some dangerous things, a storm coming, but because you have this get-there-itis, we got to get there, man.
Right. No matter what is in the way,
Right, exactly. So that's what planned continuation bias. We got to continue. We got to proceed. So that's the thing. So a lot of people, they've already doubled down on the fact that they've spent money, they've gone traveling to the museum, they brought their family, and now you're gonna expose them. They're like, wait a minute, are you calling me an idiot? So they have this. There's a lot of subconscious thing that goes on in their minds.
But it can also be peer pressure. Yeah, it can also be peer pressure.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you live in an area where everybody believes that, and you're the only one who's different, it's not that easy. Yeah. So
It's true, actually,
this
yeah.
ties back to choosing the correct companions, choosing the correct friends. Yeah.
Yeah, subhanallah. You know, one more thing I just wanted to highlight as well. When we talk about confidence, artists try to earn your trust, be your friend, and all these things, I don't want us to extract the wrong lessons into thinking that anyone who tries to have a good relationship with us is trying to steal money from us.
Of course not.
Yeah.
This is also a
I
problem
hope not,
because,
yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I noticed that when people learn more about these con scams, they get too paranoid and they don't want to, they keep people at an arm's length, which is also incorrect. So the idea here is, if, like, for example, if you have a friend who's trying to be nice to you, be nice to them as well. So as Muslims, we should have this ukhuwah. We want to build this good relationship with other people. But if he's proven to lie, then you need to know when you want to say no and to have that courage as well. Because this idea, this skill about building relationships, it's a tool. And so that's why a very famous book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I believe Aziz has that book, right?
Yeah, I remember when I recommend this book to a friend, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think it's a famous book, almost 100 years already, right?
Yeah, very famous.
100
Very
years.
famous.
Allah.
MashaAllah.
Amazing, yeah.
I read this book. It's very good. It shows you how to deal with friends, how to influence people, but in a good way, of course. And then I recommended it to a friend. He said he just read it, I think a quarter or half of it. He gave me back. He said, this book is manipulating. This shows how to manipulate people. At the time, I was like, I never thought it like to use this knowledge like that. I told him, no, Aziz,
Smart guy.
this is manipulating people. Okay. All right.
Subhanallah. You know, it's so interesting that when you said that in the book, The Confidence Game, that's what the author says. You know, for some reason, that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, has unwittingly become the manual of con artists.
No wonder.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Building relationships, it's a tool. If just like a pistol or the internet, if this tool goes into the wrong hands, you can do a lot of harm with it. But that's the thing. The right people need to use this tool better. People who call people to the path of Allah, you need to be the one who is the most efficient in building relationships. If you want to call people to do good and to forbid them from evil, you need to be the masters of building relationships, not these tricksters who do this for money. Subhanallah. So one of the things I found out, like skills that the conmen use, a lot of these skills, if you use them in the right context, they can actually be very important life skills. So for example, one very common scheme that conmen use is they have this role play effort. Amazing. But now I'll give you an example. Now this is mind blowing. There's back in the 90s, there was a very famous Japanese composer, classical music composer. I can't remember his name. His name is a bit difficult to pronounce. So they were saying that he was the next Beethoven, the modern Beethoven. So he came out with all these amazing hits and people were touting him for this. And then in 2001, he had this degenerative disease that he lost his hearing. He was deaf. And then he said, but he remembered the vibrations and he knew how to compose the songs. And then he was continuing making even better songs from there. Not better, but he was still producing that same level of quality, And then he was just doing that. And then 2014, he came forth. He confessed and he said, by the way, guys, I didn't write those songs. Somebody else did. I just paid him to do it. Okay, here's the kicker. He was never deaf.
Think
about this. It sounds really silly, right? How can you fake being deaf? Can you imagine deaf? How difficult is that? If you fake being blind, okay, you can train yourself to look one way. But to fake being deaf, if something loud noise happen, you cannot even move.
Commitment.
Commitment to it. This guy fooled the whole world for 13 years. He has an article in Time magazine. There's a next virtuoso. And this guy came forth. He admitted. If he didn't admit, we will still probably think he's some virtuoso guy. Subhanallah. And so these people they have this amazing commitment to commit to what they want to do. And another example. you see, when I talk about role playing, right? So there was one guy. This is a bit different compared to confidence scam. So this guy named Gary Ridgway, he was actually a serial killer. This guy murdered 49 women. But here's the thing: while he was murdering those women, he was also married and has a wife. And his wife said, "This guy is the nicest guy ever. I have no idea. When the police came to me, I have no idea, really." So he had a double life. So that's one thing I see in common. So a lot of confidence artists. So here's the thing: we shouldn't get into this stereotype of how they are and how they are not, because if they're really good, they will avoid all stereotypes and they will blend in with society, right? So that's the thing. So, but one thing they have in common is that they have these double lives. So in a certain context with their family, they're like this, and in certain context, they're like something else. So that's a lesson for us, because actually we do that as well. The way you treat your family member is not the same as the way you're gonna behave in the office, isn't it? The way you play with your children.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And think about this. There's actually a narration from the Salaf, Abdullah ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma, the companion who was the son of Umar ibn Khattab. He said that, I love a man who is very playful when it comes to his children, almost like his children, but when he's outside, he's firm when it comes to religion. Think about it. That's slightly playing different roles, isn't it? Because it makes sense. You want to have a respectable demeanor when it comes to representing the religion. You don't want to seem like a little kid when you're outside. So we play that as well. So again, this is a tool, but you cannot use that in a way that has bad intentions. That's the key. So some of these skills that they use, it can be manipulative, but if you use it in the right way, it can have its benefits as well.
So one way to know that, you got to understand the rights, the boundaries of that rights, right? The rights between you and the co-workers, rights between me and our family members. It's different rights altogether.
Yeah. You know, I have a very interesting story. This guy named Michael Swango. This guy was quite interesting. He was in medical school. He was notorious. A lot of his patients were dying, so he kept dying again and again and again. And even when he was a real certified doctor, he graduated, he was an MD, a lot of patients were still dying. So he was like, he earned this like a joke in the medical field: if you want to die, you go to Swango. Okay. So after a while, a nurse spotted him doing something. He put a lethal injection into a patient who was not his patient.
Wow.
But what did the hospital discover? He's actually a serial killer. He actually killed those people. It's not that he was incompetent. He actually killed those people. Now you're thinking conman will forge documents, will do something to pretend that there's somebody else. This guy actually got documentation. He got the license to kill. Subhanallah, think about that. Some people can be very, very elaborate when it comes to schemes. So even when it comes to forging documents, we think that they're forging documents, and they still do that until today. But in reality, some people, they have this twisted mind. They don't mind playing the long game, getting certifications, getting your trust, because this is how they actually play their game. SubhanAllah. It is quite scary. Yeah?
It's quite scary.
So what is it? What do they want actually? I mean...
very good. Yes. Yeah, let's talk about that. So what is the intention behind all these confidence scams? What's in it for them?
I think it's different for every people, yeah?
Different. Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Some have crave for popularity, yeah, and like the example of like during the time of the Prophet, that a guy, an Arab guy who urinated in a well, just so that people can know him, so that he can get famous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So motivation drives are people different. Some people want reputation, some just want popularity, some want money, some want woman, all that things. Yeah, all the shahwat of human beings. Yeah, uncontrolled shahwat.
Yeah.
I think for the most as well, I guess, like Aki Faisal mentioned before, it's actually all of these are tools. It's just the intention of the person using this set of tools. Basically, that's where it boils down to it. So everyone has different intentions, obviously. So that's one thing that it's quite an interesting point.
Yeah, if you want to make it very broad in terms of how we categorize it in the religion, it's all about dunya. So dunya can be a lot of things. So for the most part, we can say it's money. So they want to be wealthy, and yeah, that's what a lot of scams do. So it's quite interesting to note that sometimes they do things because they feel that they are forced into that situation. but it's a slippery slope. Once you go down that direction, it's difficult to come back because you realize that, oh, I did it and I didn't get caught. Maybe we can do it again. So that's what happened actually. In the book, it mentioned that somebody who was done forging accounting, cooking the books as they call it. So they were cooking the books. So this guy, he was in a situation where he saw the company was suffering. So he genuinely wanted to help the company. He said, I'll just do it this one time. So next year when the finances are stable again, I won't do it anymore. So he did it. Okay, the finances look good. Next year, still business didn't recover. He do it again. Now what has happened? It becomes another tool in his tool shed. It's a very slippery slope. Yeah, so it's very, very dangerous, subhanAllah. But in general, when you talk about dunya, so it can be about money, and it can be out of greed, but it can be out of what starts as necessity, but then it starts to build up. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ says a person who lies will continue lying until it's written that he is a kadhab, a liar, a compulsive liar. Because it's very difficult. Once you start down that path, it's very difficult to pull back. But of course, if you've started down that path, you have to pull back. That's what Muslims should do. Don't have that get-there-itis, isn't it?
Get-there-itis.
Yeah. And then the second one that I've seen, a very interesting one, they do this for the thrill of it. It's purely for fun. It's not for money. It's for the attention. Have you?
Right.
Actually, I've met somebody who's like this. I know somebody in my life. So
Wow.
he
Okay.
likes to fabricate stories for you to be impressed. Have you met this kind of people?
Yes, of course.
You too? Okay.
I know. Reza laugh. Okay.
Oh yeah, you noticed it? Okay, what? Okay. Enlighten us.
Yeah, we have some. Yeah, we know some people.
Yeah. I guess. We know some people. I guess who does things like this. But
Not
that's the
for
thing
money,
also.
yeah.
That's the thing also. Like in as Muslims, we're always told that we should have Husnu Dzon. Basically, Husnu Dzon is having good perceptions of people. How do we actually put that into practice when it comes to people who are like scammers? Like some of them, like in that sense, does not bring any harm whatsoever. They just do it for the thrill of themselves, or like they like to tell stories. So, but when it comes to bringing harm in the sense that loss of wealth, loss of life, loss of your belief, for example, how do we place that Husnul Dzon in the right place? So that's quite something interesting to discover.
I learned this concept.
What do you guys think?
I learned this concept at which they tie this to al-wala wal-bara, love and hate for Allah's sake. Yeah. So they say that on one end of the spectrum, we have full love, 100% love, 0% hate, and this is only for Allah and the Prophet, 100%. And on the opposite spectrum, we have 100% hate, 0% love. This is purely for the enemies of Allah and the Prophet, completely. And anything in between, you need to give the correct due based on what you see. What you see right, you love it, and what you see wrong, you hate it. So you will never have absolute love for anybody besides this, or absolute hate besides anybody between these two range. So you're very objective in evaluating people. You don't have full hope. You don't full love. You don't have full hate. You just you
that's
observe
the key
them.
thing. That word objective, being objective. That's quite something that I think it makes sense in how we deal with people around us.
Yeah, that's true. So actually, I was thinking a lot about this a lot. Actually, if somebody is proven to be a liar, to what extent do you want to give your good thoughts of him? So you think about it. If somebody has proven to lie, what's to stop that person from lying in something else? So that's actually a very very tough thing to think about. So one thing that we have to practice is a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says a mu'min should not be stung from the same hole twice. So if you've been fooled once by some person, don't give in again. You know that that's going to happen again. You see what happened is back I think 3 years ago, there was a lady who pretended to be a dentist. Have you heard the story in Malaysia?
Yeah.
So she learned in YouTube.
Very famous.
Very famous for the wrong reasons. Right? So I think she did it for a long time. I believe it was 1 year. She continued operating, putting braces on, purely learning from YouTube. She was forging documents. She forged a lot of things. So she was a fake dentist. And then at the end of the day, when she went to court, so it's supposed to be fined, I think that's 300,000 ringgit and some imprisonment, but she didn't get imprisoned. She only got fined. And during court, she basically appeared as if she was regretful, sad. Now think about this, right? She's been lying as a dentist for a long time. It's not that difficult to lie in courtroom, right?
Yeah. Subhanallah.
Ah. And you see, this is the thing. Even that case where I told you that the person who disguised as a victim of sex crimes, she actually came in a way that looks like she was always victimized, so she was regretful. She goes to court, so they always give her minimal sentences. Because we play on biases, right? Or a young woman like this, probably doesn't deserve. So that's the thing. So we should be intelligent about this. Once people have been proven to be liars, we shouldn't give in to their lies once again. So that's something that I learned from all this. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, there are several types of scam, right? I think the top one is like by dating and romance, investments, jobs. Right? So this one here is fake charities. What?
Charities.
Wow.
What about if we already give to the fake charities? Do we get any reward from Allah?
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned this the other day. I was looking at this hadith. I think I mentioned it to you guys, right? The hadith was narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. I'm just gonna say the translation. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, a man from amongst the people before you said, "Indeed, okay, hear this out. Indeed, I will give in charity." So he took his sadaqah out and placed in a thief's hand. Okay. In the morning, the people were talking about this incident and saying, sadaqah was given to a thief last night. So the man said, "Oh Allah, praise be to you. I have given sadaqah to a thief. Indeed, I will give in charity." So he wanted to cleanse that sin of his, right? So he took his sadaqah out and he placed it in a prostitute's hand. So in the morning, the people were talking about the incident and saying, sadaqah was given to a prostitute last night. On hearing
he didn't
this,
know it was a prostitute, isn't it?
Yeah. The key is that he didn't know that she was a prostitute. So on hearing this, the man said, "Praise be to you, O Allah. I give sadaqah to a prostitute. Indeed, I will give in charity." Again, so he took his sadaqah out and he placed it in a rich man's hand. Okay. So in the morning, the people were talking about this incident again, and by saying, sadaqah was given to a rich man last night. So the man said, "Oh Allah, praise be to you for helping me give charity to a thief, a prostitute, and a rich man." Then after the time, he had a dream in which he was told that in his dream he was told that his sadaqah to the thief might result in his refraining from his theft. Okay, his sadaqah to the prostitute.
That means there is a good value in that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And his sadaqah to the prostitute might help her abstain from her immorality. And his sadaqah to the rich man might help him pay heed and spend from what Allah had bestowed upon him. And this was narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari. So you see, guys, this it's never gonna go to waste, inshallah. The sadaqah that you give.
That gives a lot of comfort. That no matter, it's based on what you know about that person, and I guess what you know at that time and your intention, basically.
Because sedekah to rich people is at least allowed, right? Like because it's zakat to rich people is it's a different case.
Conditions are different, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very important lesson in that hadith. It shows that, you see, that person, the first lesson was he gave money to someone who turned out to be a thief. And it didn't deter him from giving sadaqah. That's the key. See, what happens is sometimes when we let's say we give money to a charity, right? Say, oh, it's a fraud. Say, all these charities are waste of time, waste of my money, That's not the intention here. You still give. So, and then he gives the money to somebody. Oh, turns out that she's a prostitute. Have I given her money to continue doing her misdeeds? And then he still continued giving to somebody else, which is turned out to be a rich man. He didn't say like, prostitute, whatever, I'm not going to give to any woman from now on. That's not the lesson.
Yeah.
Very important to note.
Inshallah.
The best example of this is Abu Bakr, actually. So that a story where Aisha, who was the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, was also the daughter of Abu Bakr,
Uh,
was accused of adultery. And one of the people who accused her was Mistah. Mistah was a relative of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr used to spend for him, used to sponsor him, give him money. But Mistah was the one who accused Aisha of this among the people who conspired with this. And so Abu Bakr said, from now on, I'm not going to spend anything on this guy. And so Allah revealed an ayah. It says that these people, let not those who have wealth swear these kinds of things to not spend in the path of Allah. So now this guy, imagine somebody who accused your own daughter of adultery. That's very, very hurtful, man. That's a very troubling scenario. And yet Abu Bakr, when that ayah was revealed, said, okay, from now on, I'm going to continue giving him money. So that's an important point. Even if we are burned by a con man or a con organization, don't take the wrong lessons in saying that you don't want to give in sadaqah anymore. So that's an important point.
Yeah.
Sahih.
Right, so I want to move to the last part of the discussion now. What should we do? Now we recognize these problems happening. So what is our role in navigating these issues and these problems that we see, frauds, deception, and all these things?
I think generally, I think we need everyone, regardless Muslim, non-Muslim, practicing, non-practicing, you need to have this sense of verifying all your data, all your information, before you commit to any action. Just verify whether you verify with the authorities. If someone of higher knowledge, do that first, Don't just jump the gun and just do it, or follow someone.
Inshallah, it's
very good, very good.
Yeah.
As Allah said in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah 6, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasikun binaba'in fatabayyanu. So investigate.
Yeah.
So this is good point, inshallah.
And also for Muslims in general, people in general, we need to understand that once we do something that is that can be equated as fraudulence or scam, it's hard to stop. And that is why in one of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, when he passed by a heap of like beans, right, in the market, or corn, if you'd like. So what he did was he thrust his hand in the heap of corn or the beans, and his fingers felt wetness. So in the beans, he felt like there's something wet. So he said to the owner of the beans, "What is this?" he said. So the Prophet so he replied, "O Messenger of Allah, these have been drenched by rainfall. Okay, so it's wet because of rainfall." So what
has been slightly spoiled, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So you see what he's doing here. He's trying to conceal the wet beans, right, underneath the new beans, the new and dry beans, right. So what did the Prophet ﷺ said? He said, "Afala ja'altahu fawqa ta'am hatta yarahu nas." He said, "Why did you not place this drenched part of the beans over the corn so that people might see it?" And then he said this famous quote where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ghashana falaysa minna." He said. So he said, the one who deceives is not from us. So subhanAllah, this is
right.
This is really something scary. The Prophet ﷺ is making those who lie or those who scam or do fraud and whatnot as the outlier. Someone that is
he's disowning himself away from them.
Sahih. He's disowning himself away from this type of people. And also in the Quran, it's clearly mentioned in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, right? What did Allah say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيْلُ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ. Right? So what does it mean? Woe be to those who
scam.
How do you say this?
Give less than you.
They cheat the scales, right?
Yeah, they cheat the scales. Yeah, they cheat the scales. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the next ayah, who when they take a measure from people, they take it in full. Right? So but when in the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but if they give my measure or by weight to them, they cause loss. So they only here you can see that these type of people, they are selfish. They just want good for themselves. They don't even care about the others. So in that way, they are doing some kind of injustice, right? So
Yeah.
So subhanallah. So it's mentioned in the Quran and the hadith, and we as Muslims, we should bear this in mind. We should remind ourselves time and time again that this is not something to be taken lightly. This is something that is connected to the usul of the deen, the principle, the foundations of the deen, Islam itself. Yeah.
It's interesting that Shami mentioned the usul of the deen. So basically, to avoid from being scammed, especially in matters of religion, for us as Muslims, we should seek knowledge in the sense that what covers the foundation of the deen, we should try and go and seek knowledge for it. And this is covering all the usul, basically the foundation. So inshallah, if you have covered the foundations well, then you will have a framework that when someone comes with something weird or something that is not right or seems fishy, then you know that raises alarm bells because it's never heard before in the religion, or that because you have the strong foundations that no one can, let's say, come to you with false information without you having known about it, So this is one of the things as us Muslims, as normal average Muslims, we should seek knowledge in the sense of covering all the foundations of our deen to prevent from us being manipulated by people, So it also applies to other areas in our lives as well. Basically, seek knowledge in the sense that to prevent people from fooling you. So this is one.
Like Brother Reza's point, because if you seek the fundamental knowledge, then it kind of like creates a wall for all those
typical scams.
Typical scam to come to you. But also, right, if you learn and also you practice certain deeds, certain aspect of the religion, then it will at least be a filter against 30% of the scam that's currently ongoing. Yeah, because if you look, I look in the Australian the government website talks about the 10 most famous scam, and I see 4 of it. If you just practice religious Islam values, you'll be protected from it. For instance, it's like one of it is gambling. There's a famous scam from gambling. Scam from lottery is a famous one as well. Scam from forex, from riba interest investment is also is high on the list. Scam on things which you need advance payment of things which you don't know what you're paying. Pretty much you're paying on things which is not tangible.
That's also haram.
That's haram.
Yes.
And also like a scam on romantic relationship with women you don't know. I mean, things like this. These 5 things, if you just follow basic religious knowledge, inshallah you'll be protected against this. And these are top 5 part of top 10 scam in Australia.
Wow, subhanallah. Actually, another one, I love that point. Another one I wanted to add is I realized in US, in America, a lot of people also get scammed through fortune telling scams. So like this crystal ball, it's amazing. You think about it, our religion, if you learn Tawheed, it already tells you if you go to a fortune teller, even if you don't believe in what they say, your salah is not accepted for 40 days. So, you should stay away, far away from it. If you practice that, inshallah, you'll be protected from that scam. Now you can just focus on these other scams.
That's astrology. Is fortune telling astrology.
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Astrology is also like horoscopes. These are also, I mean, people do spend money for them. Because and that's also a scam.
When we do our the topic of career path, we search in the YouTube to charter your career path. You would see charter your career path by astrology.
Wow.
Scam alert. Wow. There you go. There's a current new famous scam, motivation scam. Yeah. So they tell you you gotta own up your destiny. You gotta have good thoughts. So it's something like you have your good thoughts, and your good thoughts will influence your well-being, whatever evolve around the world. So in Islamic principle, that's not right, because
not correct,
everything is from takdir of Allah. Everything happens from the will of Allah. It's not from I think good, something good is going to happen. It's not.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen like that.
Yeah.
But that is a growing. Is gaining traction in the internet. This kind of scam to motivate people by just thinking that your good thoughts, your good vibes is going to influence goodness in everything in this world.
Subhanallah. That's like what's written in the book called The Secret.
Yeah.
So it's like what you think of it you will attract it, and then you will be you will get it. So just because you are thinking of it all the time. But subhanallah, when you learn about the fundamentals of the religion, like the usul,
opposite way, right?
you know that this things is basically false. You know, it's subhanallah. It's so much.
In the book of millionaire minds, yeah.
Subhanallah.
And also, I think one way to protect ourselves is to surround ourselves with positive people. Choose your friends. You can have good akhlaq, you fair to everybody, but make sure you have a clear line to distinguish who are your friends and who are your acquaintance and who are normal public people. And because by having that segregation, then you know what sort of information you can trust or what information you should be more cautious about. And the criteria to choose those friends based on what the Prophet has taught the Sahabah, the companions.
Having said that, Brother Amir, I heard one of the things that Ustaz Abdul Rahman Hassan, he said in one of his videos, said that do not only surround yourself with positive people, but also surround yourself with negative people as well. But what he means by that is surround yourself with negative people who actually, give you, tahdhir of some, tahdhir. How do you say tahdhir?
Honest feedback.
Pardon?
Honest feedback.
Honest feedback, or
rough,
blood.
Tough love,
or warn you against something, right? So this can be, people who always see things in the negative side of things, right? So when you have those kind of people as well in your in your proximity, you might think that, this guy said, this is negative, so you yourself need to abstain from these things. But as he said, if you only surround yourself with people who are positive, then you it's hard for you to see the bad things that are coming your way. This is what he said. So I think there's some truth in that, and that can also come from a positive person. So it depends on how you view it. Wallahu alam.
Another advice I want to share is I want to build on the point that Shami mentioned is about don't deceive people. So the example that was brought by the hadith was that a person who hide his sales products which are defective. Mm-hmm. So the solution to that is when we conduct our business, or even when it comes to writing our CV, be as honest and straightforward as possible. Don't mask things and don't say things in a way that implies that you know more than what you actually do. So for example, there's something in hadith discipline called tadlis, mudallis. So you will hear this sometimes. This hadith is weak because of this narrator, so and so, because he is a mudallis. A mudallis is somebody who deceives people with very, beating around the bush kind of talk.
Yeah.
So for example,
hiding the facts, like
hiding the facts.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the example of Shami that mentioned. So for example, how they will hide the weakness of their narrations is they will say that. So for example, they will quote a famous hadith narrator, but they will use names that you know them, but they're referring to somebody else. So let's say, for example, Aziz, his kunya, his other name is Abu Ammar. So Aziz is a famous hadith narrator, right?
Yeah.
So I say, I heard from Abu Ammar. Which Abu Ammar? Hey, you don't know Abu Ammar? I'm referring to Abu Ammar, my brother or my neighbor who doesn't study hadith. So that's a form of deception actually. And sometimes what they do also, they will hide, like if they know a narrator is not so famous, when they narrate the hadith, they will say it in very soft words so you don't hear. So all these kinds of things, it sounds very silly, but it actually happens even in the field of narrating hadith. So when it comes to things that are outside religion, it's a bigger field now. People, the limits are even more open now. I even hear people say sometimes, these are in regular conversations. People say things like, "Oh, I'm the student of so and so." But in fact, he just saw a few videos on YouTube. Okay, you study religion. that's also wrong. And it can be very subtle. Like, it can be very things like, for example, of all of the shuyukh I've met, I admire him the most. Oh, you've met so many shuyukh. MashaAllah. You know what I mean? So another one, like, so for example, somebody might say something like, of all Imam Nawawi's books that I've read, I think Riyadhus Salihin is the best.
Wah.
Read, so you've read Imam Nawawi's all of his books, huh? Not all of them, yani, some of them have not published, and so I read bits and pieces of that. Anyone can say that. So that's something I really remember this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says, when you want to do a business transaction, be honest about its defects as well. So when you're honest about the defects, probably the price will go down. But the Prophet ﷺ says that if you were to be honest, then Allah will give you barakah in it. Burika lahuma. And so it seems like small, but the value is big in the sight of Allah. And even that small money, that's why some people, they don't have that much money, but they can use so many things with it. That's what you want from what you're dealing with. But when it comes to forging documents, there's no barakah in it. And subhanAllah, this hadith that Shami mentioned, man ghasha falaysa minna, Dr. Bilal Phillips, so the hadith means whoever deceives is not among us. So Dr. Bilal Phillips, he reminded us, how many of us, this is scary, yeah? So brace yourself. How many of us can say for sure we didn't cheat at all in our degree and our high school certificate?
Subhanallah.
Wow. If you cheated, that means you use a deception to get that degree to get your job. So is that job halal or not? Think about this, man. Subhanallah. Think about this, man. And because you see the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says in one of this hadith that's narrated in the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi, where the Prophet ﷺ gave the example of a man who gave dua, and the Prophet says, how can Allah فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ? Like, how can Allah answer his dua if his food is haram, if his clothing is haram? And think about it, how you earn your money is from haram if you've been cheating in your exam. How many of us can say for sure I didn't cheat at all? I didn't copy anyone's assignment.
It include assignments, quizzes.
Looking at your friends' answers on assignments and whatnot.
Exactly, man. Just that glance, man. Just that glance.
May Allah forgive us all.
Ameen. Subhanallah. Right. So another one I just wanted to mention as well. So Amir mentioned about studying religious knowledge, but one of the things also we should upgrade our practical knowledge as well. We should understand how these scammers work, especially the big thing now is cybersecurity. Oh, it's big now. So people can, because a lot of things are information, a lot of our personal data is online. And so sometimes, we have this tendency to use one username to conquer them all, one password to conquer them all, the same password of your bank account, So all they need to do is just find that one password, khalas, they have access to your entire life. So simple things like this, if we upgrade ourselves. Now, bear in mind, these guys are professionals. And what I mean professionals is they always upgrade their knowledge. So when you do something, they will try and up you up one further. And so you have to up oneself further as well. So not to feel fear that these guys are like super intelligent. No, they will make mistakes. It's been proven before. But you need to be on your toes. You need to understand how the techniques and how to protect yourself. And you also need to know your consumer rights. And that verification point is very, very important. So as somebody highlighted just now, I can't remember who, but they will post themselves as authority figures. This is very, very famous, right? The Makkah scam, I believe. I think Shami mentioned that, right?
Oh, yeah.
They will post themselves as tax collectors. Now, this is something I learned, very, very interesting, very simple thing. Just verify it with the right sources. So the revenue board, they have clear contact numbers. Just call them, give them your identification. They can tell you. And what I find very interesting also when it comes to professional certifications, by the way, one of our friends actually, he was about to employ somebody. He found out that person forged documents. And the expiry date of his document was exactly the same expiry date as you see in the Google search of the samples. He's not very smart. But the thing is, what that taught me was when he told me to verify, because he wanted to check somebody who had the certification project management professional. I just knew then that the certifying bodies, actually you can check the registered professionals. You can check the registration numbers and their full names. So you can actually do that. So that's something that a good thing that we should do. We can always verify it back to the sources. So even if you, for example, you get a call center, right? So this is a very common scam these days. They will say that they are from Apple or they are from Google or whatever say that your account has been compromised, and so you need to call this number. You can always look online. What does that number represent? Simple things like that. So I mean, there are so many skills that we can learn, and I don't think we have time to go into them. But the point is that you have to always learn. Like, don't be complacent about what you already know. In fact, if you think that you know, these guys will prey on what you already know to use it
Do one
against
up.
you.
They're always ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Also, one thing to avoid being scammed, yeah, is you try to limit your private information on social media, especially. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Don't post photos of your
Absolutely.
family, whatever. Try to be as
Silent.
boring as possible. Yeah.
Yep.
Not safe. I mean, don't keep on updating. This is where I'm going here. I'm gonna go next.
Oh yeah.
Do not do that. Yeah. Do not tell how many family members you have in your social media. Yep. You can do that in your personal WhatsApp with your family members. Yeah. You don't have to. Not only essential, not information should go into social media. Only necessary information only. It's all the essential, the important one shouldn't go there.
Very good. Yeah.
So we'll be preying on that.
Right.
I think one more important point how to avoid scam is we should be alert to the fact that scammers exist, right? So before we
have to acknowledge them. Yeah.
We have to acknowledge them, but because we know some people are too Husnu Dzon, too
Idealistic.
very idealistic, very positive thinking. They don't want to trust that the scammers exist. So I think the first thing is we need to be alert that scammers exist, and we should know who we are dealing with in detail, especially in business transaction or any request from them that requires our details or money.
Right.
On that note, I think it's really important as well to know that it exists. Scammers exist, and scams do not only happen to people, but it can also happen to you yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes because we have been reading and hearing news about people getting scammed, but rest assured that it can happen to you as well. Because what tends to happen? What tends to happen is that when the scams or the scammers are trying to scam you, and you actually fell for it, billah. When someone comes to you and say that, don't you think this is a scam? What might happen is that you would deny the fact that you are being scammed, because how can I be scammed? Yeah, these people, I know him. I can verify the things that he say, and this is actually a double standard thing that you have set up for you and the rest of the people. It's like, what was the difference between you and the rest? You are also prone to scams like the others. The others also.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, smart.
Because I've seen this firsthand. People keep on this person. He deliberately denies
in
the fact
denial.
that, he's in denial. Right. But when scams happen to other people, say, should have really look into it. He should have done research, But he himself is being scammed.
So, just speaking out of that point as well, like now we know how the modus operandi of how the scammers work. Basically, knowing your faults, knowing your weakness, studying it and using it against you. A simple thing that we can do as individuals and as a community as well is just to know our weak points and to know what triggers for example, what triggers your emotions, what makes you act impulsively, so that you are aware of this.
Yeah.
And in the sense that when people try to take advantage of that weak point, you already know, okay, this is something that's not right. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing should be report to the authority, right?
Yes, very important. Very
This is
important.
something that people are, I think, embarrassed to do.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, they don't want to be seen as
ego.
gullible and so on, right? Yeah.
Ego,
Because reputation actually is one of the most valued parts of our identity. So when usually these things happens to people, their first instinct is that, I don't want to look bad, so I don't do anything at all, don't report it, because humans we place a lot of value on our reputation, basically.
Just sweep it under the rug.
I just read news this morning that in Malaysia we have a businessman, cosmetic businessman, who is actually a Datuk Seri, was a drug dealer.
Subhanallah.
Wow. Subhanallah.
Mashallah.
Drug dealer.
He
Wow.
always show his lavish life in media social, but now he's I think it's 5 million worth of methamphetamine
Wow. Subhanallah.
yesterday.
Oh,
Mashallah.
subhanallah. Yeah, the thing is also reporting is definitely there, but we should also share it with other people as well. Social media. It's not something that we should be ashamed of because we need to protect other people. You see, one of the things I think about is something that may seem obvious to us may not be obvious to other people.
Yeah.
Hey.
People have different knowledge, So some of them, for example, when I started to study for this discussion today, a lot of these things I just knew now. Like, oh, these guys are so intelligent the way that they can figure it out, right? So I'm thinking, like, if I didn't know this last week, there are probably a lot of people who are on the same boat as me. So we should have that kind of compassionate thinking to help other people. And also one of the things that I feel to help this in society, we shouldn't demonize and we shouldn't condescend people who have been victims of scams. So one of the things I don't agree when people use the word in Malay, diperbodohkan, fooled.
Yeah.
Because that word is actually, especially in Malay culture, when you say somebody is bodoh or stupid, it's actually very, very offensive. And if you say that, oh, these people have been, stupefied in a way, are they going to come out now because they're ashamed? So we should not have this. And in fact, it's interesting. Like recently, we had this Me Too movement. People who are victims of harassment. And the thing is, we are preaching. They shouldn't have this stigma against them. They should come out and tell people and warn people. And so suddenly, if that can happen, definitely for this case as well, because con artists, they bank on your sympathy. They bank on your sympathy and also your shame. They're very, very smart on that. Subhanallah. And I think I really like the point that Reza mentioned, don't act on emotions, because they do thrive on that. Whether you're sad, you're vulnerable. You see, one of the things, very, very simple scams is that they will go through your social media account and they will find something, they will build on it. So, for example, oh, you really like this one, don't you? Yeah. And you see, the thing is, as human beings, we like what's familiar to us. You think about this, it's a very interesting experiment social psychology in Stanford University. The professor placed this guy who was wearing a black bag in class. Black bag, doing nothing else. Just sitting there. So everyone was afraid of this guy. What is this? What is he doing here? What is he doing here? But after some time, people started to get curious. And after some time, it became like everyone wanted to be his friend. He didn't do anything. This guy with a black bag, he's just there. So they knew this. They understand familiarity is something that they can prey on. You see, the thing is, we can see that with our children as well. When sometimes you meet a relative that your children, they're not familiar with, sometimes they're not warm up to them yet. They're like, nah, I don't want. But you hang out after 1 hour, 2 hours, you're like, okay, I think I get the hang of it now. It's basic human instinct. And they know this. All they need is just some time and then they'll go in for the kill. They won't do it in day one. So we have to be careful. We have to be aware of it, as you said. We have to recognize that people have the genuine capacity to do harm. I have caught people scamming in Masjid al-Haram. I'm not even police. I can see that happening in my own eyes. Somebody who's pretending to be a war victim and suddenly he's going to these Malaysian Jama'ah, because Malaysians are known to be generous. I don't want to say gullible, generous. So known to be generous. He's going around Malaysian Jama'ah one after another. So I keep an eye on him. One day, Qaddarallah, he sits right in front of me, sits down, counts his money, put in his pocket, goes up. He's been doing that. He actually has a stack of money, subhanallah. So I know, first my impression was like, you lie in the Masjid al-Haram in front of the Kaaba? That's preposterous. No, my friend. No, you have to recognize people have the capacity to do harm. Don't be naive on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Another one is as well, remind ourselves is that don't be deceived by quick wins. This is what a lot of schemes do. They promise something a lot in a very short amount of time. And in fact, if you think about the religious scams as well, they offer things that will make you, they prey on the fact that you feel guilty for not doing much for religion. So at least, at least you get a feel of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. At least do something. Bro. Don't even wake up for tahajjud. Go get some feel lah, kan?
They provide a service, a shortcut to Jannah.
Exactly. Remember the scam a few years ago? They call it valet dua.
Remember?
Oh my God.
Oh.
Awesome scam, right? You pay them money, they make dua for you in
Yeah.
front of Kaabah, so they take a video of you.
Yeah, he
It's
didn't
subhanAllah, I think about-
apologize.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, yeah, there's so many ways that people can do it, SubhanAllah. I think one of the things as well, I just want to go remind myself as well, don't go on a witch hunt. Don't, just because people are trying to be nice to you, don't call them out, say this is a con artist. That's not also something that's taught in our religion. When you see some signs, when the person has been definitely caught, you have to expose them, right? That's your civil responsibility. But at the same time, don't go around accusing people. So that's also something very important.
You need to have you need to have substantial proof
Yeah, we need to
before
have
you
proof.
can actually say and call out on them, right?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's funny. I just read a classic book, Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, there is this one episode that the sidekick, Dr. Watson, right? They were on the way to the scene, and his sidekick asked, "Why aren't you thinking about the case?" He was just speaking about music, about what theater he talked anything outside anything about the case, the murder, and he said, if we make theory without complete evidence, our judgment may be biased. Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because he don't want to say anything about it
Wow.
yet before you get evidence, because when we already have our own theory, or we already
That's true. That's true.
articulate it, and we found that
SubhanAllah.
the evidence just not what we theory, but we will make the evidence to fit our the first theory that we have, right?
SubhanAllah. Wow.
It's like the cognitive dissonance before.
Mashallah,
You have to
yeah.
fit in.
To fit in.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, I also want to remind ourselves that if we have been victims, don't feel regret. Right? It's something that Allah has destined for you. Just think about moving forward from there. And also, one of the things I want to remind ourselves is that, because people, one of the things that they have in common is that they play multiple roles. And as we mentioned, that so do we. So what we want to strive is we want to be the best person in private, better than what people see. That's important. So don't have if you want this double life thing. What's important is that you are better than what people see you. That was a testimony that was for Umar ibn Khattab, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Mashallah.
And actually, last but not least, something quite interesting I realized in the way we the way we raise our children. You see, small things like, for example, my son, he's 2 years old now. He discovered that if he's nice to certain people, he can get certain things. So if he's nice to his grandma, he will get certain junk food that normally his parents won't give. If he's nice to this uncle, he can get some screen time, but normally his father won't give him.
Yeah, he knows, right?
So
Just like my daughter. Yeah.
so you see, it sounds very silly, isn't it? But if you think about it, what are you teaching them? So I remember one day we were telling our son, like, be nice to your uncle. If not, you cannot get this. I thought, hey, this is wrong, man. We shouldn't say this because now he's gonna be nice so that he can get that stuff. So we are actually training them to go and think like these manipulators. So the way. We should be very mindful about how we communicate with our children, what they can get for what they are treating. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. And actually, one more thing interesting, that story about Captain Voigt that I told you at the very beginning of this discussion? You know what happened to him? 9 days after he stole the money, he got caught.
Oh.
Easy. He just got 9 days. Then he's just drinking his tea, I think. Then he got caught. Then he goes to court. And then he basically was exposed that his story was he was an ex-convict. He couldn't find a job. He couldn't find a house. That's why he cannot find a job. So his story was he was a victim of society. He had to do what he did just to survive. So the judge said, no, what you did is wrong. I'm still going to sentence you to prison. Sentence closed. You know what the judge said? Okay, so he finished his role as a judge. Then he told this guy, his name is Voigt, young man, I pity you. Do you need any help? Wow. He fooled the judge. That guy, his name is Wilhem Voigt. You can actually look him up. Today, he's a folk hero in Germany. They even have a
really?
statue erected for him. So he went to prison, feigned a good manners, good morals. He went out. He was a folk hero, and people were sponsoring him. People give him free food. So he look at it.
So-
Look at the long con that he played. So he fooled them. He fooled the military just for that 4,000 marks. But now he fooled the whole world.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
So he stuck with his story
So-
and doubled down, huh?
He doubled down on that.
Oh,
Right, so we should definitely double down on efforts to protect ourselves and protect the ummah. And remember, we're not in this alone. We have to help others in their journey as well to protect them, because maybe there are some people who may still be vulnerable. So let's play our part as a community to prevent this disease of frauds, inshallah.
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 Okay, so I think that ends our discussion for today. So jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. It
Wa'iyaakum.
was good input from everyone.
Jazakumullah
Thank
khairan.
you for
You
the
want to have
sharing.
have a
Alhamdulillah.
conclusion round for everyone, or
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
Right.
let's go on. So brother Amir, maybe you want to conclude this discussion,
okay.
inshallah.
So to me, I just have looking at three aspects. Yeah, if you're for most of us, yeah. So take precaution as what we have discussed. Yeah, and always remember there's no such thing as a free lunch, either in this world or in the akhirat. And always make, after you do all those precautions, make dua to Allah to protect ourselves from all those oppressors, from the zalimun. For the scammers, yeah, ittaqullah, have taqwa to Allah, make taubat. It's not too late. Turn over a new leaf, seek forgiveness from Allah. And if you have oppressed others, return their rights. Yeah, if you're able to do so, yeah, at least seek forgiveness as well from them. And for previous victims, yeah, be assured that nothing can change your fate. Nothing, whatever has been fated for you, is you'll never escape from it. Yeah. If you're in a position if you're in a position that you can report to authorities, do so. Yeah. And also, like our brothers mentioned, share your learnings with others, so other people, so that your experience will be a much help to others. Yeah. And also have good faith in Allah. As Ibn Qayyim mentioned, that all bad things that happen to you can only be of two things. It's going to be a direct consequence of your sin or the effects of your sin. Yeah. So what you should do is continue and do not derail yourself from all your amal saleh, and may Allah reward your sabar. So that's all I have.
He concluded.
Inshallah.
everything.
Inshallah.
Very good.
Mashallah.
Jazakallah
Good
khairan.
conclusion, mashallah.
Inshallah.
Anything to add, Aziz?
I have nothing.
Oh, mashallah. Okay,
That
okay.
was very good, mashallah.
Very good. Very good.
Inshallah.
Barakallah feek. Shahmi, anything to add?
Mashallah, what Brother Ame concluded was everything and more than what I wanted to say. Alhamdulillah. So I just want to add a tiny bit. So when we see these scams happening around, whether it be our family or ourselves even, or our friends and acquaintances, we as Muslims we are required to prepare ourselves so that we won't be falling into the same trap again in the future. So we need to actually equip ourselves with the right knowledge, the practical knowledge and the knowledge of the deen. Because as the Prophet ﷺ said, just as Brother Faisal said earlier, the Prophet ﷺ said he said, "La yuldagul mu'minu fi hujrin wahidin marratain." The mu'min, the believer, does not fall into the same hole twice. So this is an encouragement from our Prophet ﷺ to actually to get
Learn
that
from our
wisdom
mistakes.
to learn from the mistakes of others and from ourselves, and to have that wisdom, just generally to have that wisdom, to be wise in everything that we do. So yeah, inshallah, we have to hold on onto that, inshallah. Yeah, so that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Mashallah. Reza?
Yeah, just to summarize, mashallah, great points. So just, I guess, in that sense, like to protect ourselves from scams, we should seek knowledge and get to know what open points that the scammers can get to us by knowing our weak points. And also, most importantly, is seek protection with Allah, because in the end, Allah provides tawfiq, and then He will be the one who protects you from any harm. So that's the most important thing. make dua, and basically protect yourself through knowledge and knowing yourself and knowing what's going on out there. So at the same time, not being paranoid, treat everything in its right in the right place. So basically, treat everything and judge it by its apparent, let's say, what is apparent of it. And inshallah, if you have the enough knowledge, you can know what is a scam and what is the real thing. So yeah, it's from me.
Maybe one last bit. Sorry,
Sure.
can I add one last bit? With
definitely.
regards to what has happened with the prophetic artifact exhibition, right? We need to understand that the Prophet ﷺ did not leave us with any tangible items that we can actually do seek blessings with anymore. So what did the Prophet ﷺ left us with? He said clearly in the hadith, he said, "Taraktu fikum amrayni lan tadillu ma tamassaktum bihima, kitabullahi wa sunnata nabiyhi sallallahu alaihi wasallam." He said, I have left two matters with you, O Muslimin. As long as you hold on to these two things, you will not go astray. So what are those things? The book of Allah, Al-Quran, and the Sunnah of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these are the two things that we have to hold on to, not some beard, not some clothes or sandals or whatnot. So if we have to stick onto these two of these very important things, inshallah.
Yeah, in other words, substance over form, isn't it?
Substance over form. Yeah. Substance over form, inshallah.
Very good, inshallah. So last but not least, I just like to remind all of us, one of the things, just remind us to have sabr, to have patience in this time. So what does it mean by sabr? Number one, be patient and remain calm when scammers try to do something, and always be rational into thinking what you should do and what you should act upon next. Have patience in resisting offers that look too good to be true, because as the saying goes, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Right? Another one is have patience in consulting others, getting the right facts before you act. Have patience during a time when you're not scammed, to proactively learn about how to protect yourself. Okay, and also be patient if you have sabr, if you have been a victim of scams, to accept the qadr of Allah and move from there. And have patience not to get emotional as well. So if you've been burned, or if you have been a victim of some sort, don't allow this to turn you in the other direction and make you withhold yourself from amal salih. So that's for me. And so as Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sta'inu bis sabri was salah. Or you who believe, seek help from salah, with the prayer and patience. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin, that Allah is with the patient.
Subhanallah.
So, all right. So, jazakumullah khairan.
وإياكم.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Thank you and Jazakumullahu khairan for spending time with us on this episode. We really hope that you've benefited from this discussion and that you've learned something that can help you improve your life and the people around you. If you did learn something new, don't forget to love for others what you love for yourself, and share about this episode and this podcast to your loved ones and those who you know can benefit from these lessons. And by doing so, also earn your share of the rewards in the hereafter, inshallah. In the spirit of continuous improvement, please do reach out to us over at our social media platforms at Facebook and Instagram if you have any comments, feedback, and suggestions for the team. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to the Barakah Effect podcast on our YouTube and our podcast platforms, as this will greatly help support our cause and get the word out to other like-minded, awesome individuals such as yourself. Until next time, Barakallahu fikum.